what your full name is and spell it.
It's Marie Trejoar, Marie-Treloar.
Great. And what is your relationship to the military?
I am a military spouse.
Great. So when we're doing this, if you could answer, they're not going to hear my questions. So
Okay.
Answer in a complete sentence. So put my question back in your answer. If I say, what's your relationship with the military? I say, my relationship with the military is
Okay.
I'm a military spouse. Or if I ask you, for example, what's your name? My name is Marie.
Okay.
All right. So what is your relationship to the military?
So my relationship with the military is being an Army wife.
Great. Is there anything?
Go take her upstairs.
Thanks, Brianna. Appreciate it. What do you find to be the most challenging part about being a military spouse?
Ooh, the most challenging part of being a military spouse is it'd have to be just the everyday stuff when they're gone, having to be mom, dad, teacher, nurse, chauffeur, everything. And depending on where you live, you may or may not have any support. So we've been in some areas where I didn't have support until probably several months in.
Great.
She needs to go too.
Okay. Cut this.
I can pet her again, like when Josh was.
Speeds. Alright. I'm gonna clap my hands right for you.
Okay.
This is Marie, take 2. Okay. Take this off because it's noisy. So, what do you find to be the most challenging part about being a military spouse?
The most challenging part of being a military spouse is when they're gone, you have to do everything. School, doctor's appointments, and with our family in particular, lots and lots and lots of appointments and therapies and stuff like that. And it's me and the kids, and that's it. And some of the locations that we've been to didn't really have any support for several months, so that's kind of probably the most challenging part.
Right. Are there unique strengths that you think military families possess by virtue of being a military family?
I would say military families have the unique strength of being able to adapt to almost any environment. You have to meet new people, and you either meet these people and become friends, or you meet these people and you walk away from it. And you learn very quickly how to make the friends and if you want to be friends with them.
I guess something's going on here. Almost like thunder vibrations. Can you hear that?
Is it the fan?
Is the fan blowing the mic around or something?
It could
Maybe
be.
let's turn that on. Is that just a pull on one of these things?
It's the inside switch right there.
Yeah. It's so low frequency, Jared, though, that I can probably filter it out. So no problem. If it keeps going, we'll just keep going. That's gonna make that noise. Oh, you know what it could be?
Yeah, are you rubbing on a chair?
Could be.
Yeah, it was real subtle.
Okay. Setting aside the military thing, what do you love about being a parent?
The thing I love about being a parent is just being able to raise my kids, and being able to, I actually am privileged with being able to homeschool our kids. And so watching them learn and that aha moment when it like hits their eyes and stuff, it's one of the best things ever. And they're just such cool kids anyway. So it makes it a lot of fun.
Great. How many kids do you have, and what are their ages?
We have 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. The girls are 15, and our middle daughter is about to be 13, and then our son just turned 11.
Great. What is the hardest part that you see for the kids when your husband is deployed?
Oh gosh, the hardest part for the kids when my husband is deployed is just that he's not there. He misses a lot. When they were younger, he had a couple of deployments that sucked pretty bad. They just stunk. It was hard for them to not be able to talk to dad like they wanted to face to face. He was one that he'd come home from work and lay down on the floor, and he was their jungle gym. And all of a sudden that was gone. And so lucky with the job he had that he was able to at least be on webcam for birthday parties and stuff, but he wasn't there for, the first birthdays in person. So it was really, really hard for him in that aspect.
Yeah. That's fine. I think I got it here. What are some of the values that that are important to you that you try and instill in your children?
Some of the values that I try to instill in our kids is compassion and acceptance, because with our lifestyle we move every 2 to 3 years, and so we meet a whole different group of people. We moved to Hawaii and we had to deal with cultural differences, and so teaching them that different areas have different cultures, and so you've got to accept people for who they are. And being in the military, we have the unique opportunity of constantly being surrounded by diversity. I mean, religion, skin color, parts of the world. We were stationed in an area where they worked with Australians, and so we have friends in other countries that are not U.S. citizens. That part of the military is probably the coolest thing, and being able to teach our kids to take value in that and accept these differences is really, it's kind of cool. It's fun being able to do that.
Nice. What do you think a parenting program that would teach parents in the military some research-based parenting skills would be a useful thing, and if so, why?
I think the military, I think spouses dealing with deployments and stuff, and those coming home, I think having a parenting program would be beneficial, because you've got service members who are gone and they miss anywhere from 6 months to a year of their children's lives. So there's a whole developmental stage that they've missed. And so they come home and they don't know how to interact with the kids anymore. The kids may not even remember them because of, age differences. So being able to help reintegrate the families together better, I think would really help a lot with some of the stress of coming back home and coming home to strangers, because you really don't know each other anymore. And it would help parents learn how to communicate again so that they can be better parents to their kids.
Great, fantastic. Thank you. You can turn that off. I'll have to just pop it on.
Just keep them.
Very good. So looking good here. What are some of the things that your kids do that just get under your skin? Give me a laundry list. You don't need to put this in. You don't need to put the question before the answer. Just take them off.
Back talk, constant just snarkiness. The snarkiness drives me insane. The sarcasm and it's really they're really good kids. I don't not doing their chores, having to fuss at them to do their schoolwork, just that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. How you know what? Give me the I don't remember all my questions. But I did. Doing great. Okay. Yes. Do you have who has you over the different places you've lived? Who have been the people who've been your support network outside of the immediate family who helped you get through things?
So I've been really fortunate to have a really good support group. I met one of my best friends I met before, right around the time I went to college, back in 95, 96. And she and I have been friends ever since. And her husband actually is military as well. And so we got stationed together in Hawaii, which was really fantastic. And so that helped a lot with having to be on an island and not have family around. But I have probably about 5 or 6 people that different parts of the world that if I have a need in terms of just support, I can just call up or send a message and say, hey, when you have a minute, please call me. And they're awesome.
You mentioned that sometimes, like, the difficulties of a parent returning for deployment. Can you think of a specific thing or an anecdote that your family experienced? And if you can't, that's fine. But just like something that was difficult for you or for your kids or for your husband when he returned from a deployment. If it's hard to think of a specific thing at the moment, but maybe you have.
I got some good ones.
Something.
So one of the difficulties we had, my husband was actually in Korea for a year right after we got married, and we found out just before he left that we were pregnant with our first child. So he missed the whole pregnancy. He got home, we planned it, and luckily she heard us and listened. But with the doctor, and he was prior service, so he understood, our timeline and stuff. So we planned with the doctor, planned leave and all that for him to be home in time for at least due date. And she ended up coming the day before her due date. So he was home for just under 48 hours before we were in the hospital. And so he was there for 3 weeks. And of course, that's like one of the best times because they're little and they're sweet. And she slept really good. So we didn't have too many complaints there. But when he came home, she was 3.5 months old, and I had just had surgery, so I didn't even get to go to the airport to pick him up. My mom did, and she didn't recognize him, and it broke his heart. I mean, that's his baby, and she's like, who are you? And she just screamed every time he looked at her for a while. And so that was really rough. And then for him to transition, he went from being a newlywed to all of a sudden he comes home and he's a dad and a newlywed, because we had only been married for about 3.5 months when he left. So that was a difficult one, especially for him. I kind of sat back and I was just kind of like, okay, figure it out. So.
Okay, we can do this in 3. 13. Yeah, how do you, the values I asked about, what are more important to them, important to you, how do you try and instill those in your children?
Instilling the values of compassion and empathy and integrity and stuff like that, we make them own their mistakes. I was in a doctor's office one day, and I left oldest and youngest sitting in the waiting room. And they know the rule is you sit and you sit quietly. It's a place of business. I come out and I see my son pulling on my daughter's arm, being loud. And I, of course, didn't have the whole story. So I took what I saw and I made him go and apologize to everybody in the waiting room for being loud and disruptive, because that is not how we behave. And so no more problems with that. It's great. And with compassion, our oldest daughter has some health issues and on the autism spectrum. And so we have made sure that we keep an open discussion going about that stuff, and make sure that if they see somebody else who may be alone and may be a little different from what other kids would accept, that they take the opportunity to go and accept that person, because they don't know that could end up being their lifelong best friend and probably the coolest person they'll ever meet. So we just try to, depending on the situation and all that, we work really hard to make sure that they are being more accepting than judgmental.
That's really nice. Is there any questions that you would like me to ask you, or anything you would like to say maybe to other military families who are considering taking this ADAPT course on parenting? Words of encouragement, maybe? You don't have.
Oh, I've got plenty. I'm just trying to think of which one.
You've got the other camera going too, so.
Okay. I would say to other military families being presented with the possibility of the ADAPT course and stuff, take it. Because you're dealing with not only somebody coming home, but what if they've got post-traumatic stress? It's a normal reaction to trauma, but they have to learn how, the whole family has to learn how to come together and deal with that stuff. And it's hard, but it's so worth working through it and, you know, keep trucking and going forward. It's not something to give up on. 16 years in, and it's still the best choice I ever made.
Okay, there's the soundbite of the shoot. So